My famous, I don't have, since I don't have a gavel, with the meeting of chapter 14, 17, please come to order. Glad to see everyone today. I see a lot of green out there, and I see some other colors intermingled, so it all blends together. The spring is here with all the beautiful colors. For our devotional of the day, since it's St. Patty's Day, I'm going to read an Irish lesson. I think it would be very appropriate for the day. May there always be work for your hands to do. May your purse always hold a coin or two. May the sun always shine upon your window pane. May a rainbow be certain to follow each rain. May the hand of a friend always be near you. May God fill your heart with gladness to cheer you. So I think that's very appropriate for the day. Benny, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Let's stand and pledge.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Be seated. Also, I sent a thank you note to Donovan Head, who was our speaker at last month's meeting. Let's see, next thing. The approval of the minutes. Nancy is not here today because she is en route to Florida for a horse show, pulling, I think probably she's driving a vehicle right now, pulling 7 horses in it. So that's the reason she's not here today. The copy of the minutes are on the table. I hope you've had a chance to look at them. Does anybody see any changes that need to be made to the minutes? Nancy does an excellent job recording these minutes. So, if not, do I hear a motion that the minutes be approved?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Sure.
All approved, aye. All opposed? Okay, the minutes stand approved as written. Ms. Evelyn, you want to give the financial report?
At the beginning of this month, we had $920.71. We dispersed $608.74, most of which was Alzheimer's. We had receipts of $56.66, so we now have $368.63. No outstanding checks.
Okay, does anybody have any questions on the financial report? If not, do I hear a motion that it be approved as presented?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, all approved, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the financial report stands approved as written. I think you're going to be in store for a nice treat today. We have a face that's familiar to a lot of us. I think she thinks she lives at the steakhouse lately. She's had so many meetings lately at the steakhouse.
At least food's good.
But I'm going to ask Larry to come up and introduce our guest speaker, Jenna Womble.
I think most of you know Jenna. She's a very energetic young lady that is present almost everywhere you go here in Pulaski County. She's not one to stand still very long. I don't know if that's because she knows that moving target's hardest to hit.
That's exactly right.
But Jenna is a graduate of Fullerton Academy and Valdosta State University, where she received the Bachelor of Business Administration and Marketing. She began her career as a sales representative for home health at the Chris Regional Hospital in 2002. She was employed as a pharmaceutical representative for, is that Takeda Pharmaceuticals for 4 years, and then worked for Atlanta Oncology Associates as a physician liaison prior to coming to the board with Taylor Healthcare Group. And at Taylor Health Group, she started out as Director of Marketing and Public Relations. That was May of 2015. And I'm sure she's going to tell you how Her career there has skyrocketed since then as things have changed quite drastically there, and I think you will find that most of the changes there are very positive changes. Jenna resides in Pineview, Georgia. Two really lovely children. J. Beth Womble is 8 years old. Jude Womble is 4 years old. And currently, in addition to all her other things that she is involved in, she is secretary and has the distinction of being the president-elect for the Hawkinsville Rotary Club. Having been there myself, I can tell you that is quite a distinction. So without any further ado, here's Jenna Womble.
Thank you, Mr. Larry. Good afternoon, everyone. Good to see all of you. I do recognize a bunch of faces. There are a few that I might not know, but I bet you I'll probably know you before you walk out the door. Like Mr. Larry said, I don't sit still very long, and I do like to get out in the community as much as possible. I am from the area. I claim Hawkinsville when I am outside of Pulaski County, because when I tell people that aren't from somewhere close by that I'm from Pineview, they say, "Where is that?" But most of you, if you're from Hawkinsville, you probably know where Pineview is. We're just a few miles down the road. But like Mr. Larry said, I am the Director of Marketing and Public Relations at Taylor Regional Hospital. I started with them last May. And we have been very busy at Taylor the last few months. Many of you probably know we've been through some recent changes. We do have a new interim CEO who started with us on January the 13th, Dr. Skip McDaniel. Dr. McDaniel does reside here in Hawkinsville. He has a lovely wife, Miss Harriet, and we're very glad to have him on board at the hospital. He's really done a lot in these first few months that he's been with us to kind of propel us forward and give us some momentum. As most of you probably are familiar or have heard, rural medicine right now is really a struggle, especially here in the state of Georgia. Last year in the state of Georgia, we lost 4 rural hospitals throughout the state, and just this year, since January of this year, there have already been 2 additional hospital closures, rural hospital closures in the state of Georgia, which is very alarming and it's very worrisome. I'll tell you right now, don't worry, Taylor Regional is not going anywhere right now. But that being said, we do have to kind of keep up with the times. Things are changing. Many of our reimbursements and funding are being cut, just as everything that's linked to the economy or the government right now. There are a lot of challenges that we're facing. So we're having to kind of keep up with the times as best we can. And one of the things that is part of my job at the hospital is to kind of revitalize our hospital foundation. Many of you are probably familiar with foundations and what the purpose of a foundation is. But if you don't know, a foundation is a non-governmental entity, and it's established as a nonprofit corporation, so a 501c3 or a charitable trust. It has the principal purpose of making grants to unrelated organizations such as the hospital, institutions, or individuals for scientific, educational, cultural, religious, or other types of charitable purposes. It's a broad definition, but it encompasses 2 different types of foundations. There are private foundations, and then there are grant-making public charities. So we have, at the hospital, we have the R.J. Taylor Memorial Care Foundation, which is a private foundation, and the primary goal of that foundation is to make charitable donations to our hospital to help fund some of the things that we may not have revenue coming in that we're able, that we have available to do extra things with. So the private foundation derives its money from where? It can come from families, individuals, or it can come from corporations. And all of these exempt organizations have to submit annual filings to the IRS. We file a Form 990-PF every year. It's a public document. It has lots of valuable information about the organization's finances, its board members, and its key employees. So what does the foundation actually do? It provides, like I said, an income source for any special projects or any additional services that we may be looking to add to our hospital. We are also, as many of you know, we also have a partnership or management agreement with Bleckley Memorial Hospital, which is over in Cochran. Bleckley has been under the Taylor Healthcare Group umbrella since 2001. So we work very closely with them. They are truly our sister hospital. We have many employees who go back and forth between the two hospitals. So anything that is done at Bleckley that benefits Bleckley also is a benefit to Taylor. And then in 2014, the end of 2014, we brought on board Pinewood Manor Nursing Home. So really there are 3 different parts to the whole Taylor Healthcare Group now, which really adds to our continuum of care. We have a nursing home, we have 2 hospitals, we have a home health agency, we have a durable medical equipment company, and then we also have our wellness center. So we truly can take care of our patients anywhere from cradle to grave. It's a true full hospital healthcare system. We're in the process right now of establishing a foundation over at Bleckley as well to help with bringing in some additional funding to revitalize that hospital. I think Bleckley was built in 1969. It is a 25-bed critical access hospital. So they don't receive currently. They're not receiving county funding. So anything that we can do to help bring in some more support for that hospital, we're going to do as well. Excuse me, got a frog in my throat. So, going ahead and talking a little bit more about our foundation. Where do foundation funds come from? Well, number one, they come from annual donations. Currently, we're in the process of doing a drive for our hospital foundation. We've had some dinners. We've got some coming up to kind of help start spurring that giving thought process within the communities. If you have ever graduated from a college, if you attend a church, if you're part of any type of nonprofit organization, you're probably asked to give. You probably receive letters in the mail from your alumni association or from your church asking you to give to help support that organization. But have any of you ever been asked to give to your hospital? Probably not. And if you think about it, what better organization to support in your community really than your hospital system? If you think about the process or the thought of losing a hospital, like some of the communities around us have, Dooley County no longer has a hospital. They lost their hospital several years ago. McRae lost its hospital several years ago. And if you ever drive through those towns and see those buildings sitting there and see the devastation that it's brought upon those small communities, it's a very sad sight, and it's something that we don't ever want to have to think about happening here, because when you lose your hospital, not only are you losing the medical support for the community members, you're losing jobs. You're losing industry possibly, because what type of business wants to move into a community that doesn't have a hospital? You're losing support within your school system, because the hospital really is a vital piece that our school systems need to help, provide services for the schools. So, that's something that we really, really, really want to do, is make sure that we support our hospital, make sure that we keep it where it needs to be. So annual donations, that's one of the places that we derive our funds. One of the things that we're doing right now is also a 5K. I don't know if any of you are runners or walkers or like to participate in those type of events. We do have our annual Taylor, we're calling it Hoofing It for Your Health this year because it's tied in with the Harness Festival, but it's going to be on April the 2nd. So if any of you are interested, we do have a 5K and then a 1 mile family fun run. We're going to hold it out at the Christian Life Center on McCormick Avenue. So we would love to have any of you, but that is another way that we're bringing in some funds for our foundation. A third way that the foundation receives funds is from our Pink Ladies. We're very fortunate at Taylor that we have a wonderful group of volunteers, Pink Ladies. They do all types of fundraisers throughout the year. They also help with being greeters to our hospital. So when we have patients coming in that are coming in to register for services, they may not know exactly where they're going. They help them get signed in. They help them find the lab. They help them find the radiology department. And they do a wonderful job. I'll tell you right now, volunteers are worth their weight in gold. I don't know what we would truly do without them. But from all these fundraisers and sales that they work so hard to have throughout the year, they take a big portion of that and they donate it directly back to supporting our hospital's foundation, and we're grateful for that. A fourth means is golf tournament. Taylor did have a golf tournament about 3 or 4 years ago. It was a 75th annual or 75th anniversary type tournament, but that's something that I am working in my role to bring back, and I want to turn it into an annual event. So I'm looking towards possibly a fall date for that. So if any of you are golfers, and if you're not, you can always support in the way of being a whole sponsor or just coming out and help. And then our fifth way of receiving funds is through an employee giving campaign, and that's something that I'm working on because, you know, giving really starts at home. So we would never come out into the community and ask anyone to do anything that we're not going to do ourselves. So there will be a means for employees to make donations. We're hoping to be able to do it through a payroll deduct type system so that they can give, you know, $1 per pay period. They can give $20 per pay period, just depending on what they would like to do. But there'll be different levels of recognition for those employees who do give. So once we get some funds coming in, what are we going to do with them? Well, one of the things that is at the top of our list right now is urgent care. Back in the fall, we did a survey, a community health needs assessment between Pulaski, Bleckley, Wilcox, and Dooley County. And we asked the community, some of you may have even participated in the survey, but we asked the community, what are we doing right? What would you like for us to change? Are there any services that you think we need in the community that we don't have right now? What can we do to help? What can the hospital do to help? One of the top needs on our community health needs survey that was addressed was the need for urgent care. Many times you may fall ill, you may have an accident, you may have something going on. You need to see the physician. It's after hours. It's a weekend. You may not be quite at the level that you feel like you need to go to the ER, but no one else is available. So something that we're looking to do is open up an urgent care center right here on our campus at Taylor. But it does need funding. So that's one of the first places and one of the first projects that we've got on board to work on here at Taylor is to get our urgent care on the ground. In this county, we typically have about a 60% outward migration, according to the last study that was done, of patients going outside the county to receive health care. And that's very, very disheartening, especially when we have such wonderful services right up the road here. Every time a car drives past our driveway to go outside the county to receive care, it hurts us. So we want to be able to do everything that we can to capture that and to keep people from having to go anywhere and keep that right here at home. We want to take care of all of our community right here at home. We don't want you to have to travel. So with that being said, yes, sir?
Why did you get rid of the cardio rehab then?
That's something that we're working on as well. I'll tell you, cardiac rehab is something that needs some updates. We need some new equipment, and we need a new, there's a computer system that supports cardiac rehab. So that's actually the second project on our list other than urgent care is working on getting the equipment that we've got to have to bring cardiac rehab back. Like I said, funding is the top challenge that we have in rural medicine right now. We continue to have cuts in Medicare reimbursement. We continue to have cuts in Medicaid reimbursement. We continue to have challenges with private insurance. So you know there are lots of challenges. I want you to think about if you were to go to Hardee's to buy groceries and you fill your buggy up, before you walk out the door with those groceries to go home, what do you have to do? Pay the bill. However, if you come to the hospital and come to the ER to receive treatment, how many times or how many people do you think actually write a check to pay their bill before they leave?
Maybe 1%.
Not very many. So that's where our challenge comes in. So,
Are you saying they can't afford to pay the bill?
some cannot. Some have private insurance. They run the insurance, and then they will be billed for a patient portion or a copay. We do ask for copays up front, but there's only so much that you can do. We're going to provide them care regardless. That's part of our duty as a hospital. We're going to take care of those patients when they come in. We take care of a patient regardless of whether or not they have an ability to pay. I can tell you that according to our GHA report in 2012, Taylor Regional gave out $1.4 million in uncompensated care.
Does the county, do you get anything from the county for indigent care?
We do receive some indigent care funding from the county. However, it does not cover what we give out in indigent care every year.
And what percentage do you receive from the county?
I could not tell you what that is. I don't know exactly what that is, but if you'd like to come by the hospital, I'm sure we can pull the report and show you. But it is a challenge. It's something that we're struggling with, but part of Dr. McDaniel's job, now that he is here and in place, is to help us get that back on track. We really feel like opening this urgent care is going to provide us with a new revenue stream to be able to help support bringing in some more services. So that's where our focus is right now. Cardiac rehab is something that we'd like to bring back. We need some new monitors on the floor. We need some new medical equipment. And of course, just some hospital beautification would be nice. Some new chairs, some new beds, things like that. Maybe a new coat of paint on the walls. But we have to take these, it's baby steps. We have to take it, it's a slow step-by-step process, but we're getting there. We really are. How can you help? Well, number one, you can give. You can support your hospital, just like you support any of the other groups that you belong to. If you support schools, you support other nonprofit organizations, support your hospital. You can volunteer. We're always looking for volunteers, aren't we, Miss Pat? I can guarantee you that if you go by and see Miss Pat anytime and tell her you'd like to come and be a volunteer at our hospital, what do you think we'd say?
Oh, I've already given half of
I know
applications.
she reminds us all the time.
That's right. Our auxiliary is great. We love having our gift shop. We love our sales that they do. We love having them there to help our patients. And then another way, volunteering. If you don't have the time to do that, when we have some of these events, we have our 5K. When I get ready to do this golf tournament, it takes a lot of hands on deck to do things like that. So I assure you, you come by that hospital, I'm on the front hall, come find me. I will not turn down a helping hand. And then finally, just by inviting us to speak. I'm always available. I will make myself available. If you have another group that you'd like for me to come talk to, I will be there with bells on. I appreciate Ms. Lynn, Mr. Larry, and what they do, and them asking me to come by here. But I'll always be glad to come and speak and just let other people know about what's going on at our hospital. I think it's vitally important that all of our community know where we are and what direction we're going in, that things are looking up, and we are excited about the future at Taylor. And we'd love to have you stop by, come visit, come meet Dr. McDaniel. He enjoys having people come by his office. And if you don't come by his office, he'll come by and see you. But any other questions that I can answer for anyone? Gosh, it's quiet. Now, I know y'all were talking more than that when I came in.
I'm not real happy with the hospital's billing service.
I've heard a lot of complaints about that.
The bill, in what facet? What, like What
Like
are you
sending
running
me
into?
bills that I don't owe, and my insurance is already paid. Get a phone call from them, telling me I owe them.
Okay, well,
And
if
I've
you'll
called
come
them
see
back
me
and told
after
them.
we get done, we'll work on that.
Had a question talking about the billing. I know some people, and I think they've been working on this, had problems where some of the anesthesiologists were in the network and they were people having colonoscopies and all of a sudden getting a $5,000 bill for the anesthesiologist because he or she wasn't in the network and they weren't told that up front.
I think what most of the
Non-participating
anesthesia
providers.
problems have been ironed out, but what was going on was that we had a new group that came in last year, and it takes a little while to get in network with some of these different managed care organizations. So what was happening is, I don't know that it was necessarily being billed to the patient, but it gets billed to their insurance, and the insurance kicks it back and says that they're out of network. So we do have a process in place where they will appeal that automatically, and after it goes through a certain level of appeals processes, then they will reduce it to whatever is the in-network charge, and then they will present a bill. So if you hear of someone that's had, I haven't heard a lot about that lately
Lately, I
because I
haven't
think
either.
everything's gotten taken care of. I think they're pretty well in network with all of the insurance companies right now. But if you do have a problem with something like that, please come by and see us. Please do not hesitate to call. Come in the front door, and the billing office is right off to the left of the front door, and we will absolutely be happy to look into it and help you get to the bottom of it. Don't let it frustrate you.
Well, I went there 2 days ago and they never bothered to offer to do anything.
Come see me after we get done, okay? And I'll help you. Yes, sir.
I think that I heard Dr. McDaniel say something about they were letting some of the contractors do their billing, and that got it all out of sync.
I think that did have something to do with it. I can't, because I don't work in the billing department, I can't exactly speak to that. But I know that there were some problems with some of the companies that were doing
But I know
contracted
that
billing.
he has fixed that problem.
Yes, he has.
Southland, whatever the name is the one that I'm having trouble with.
Okay, that's our hospitalist group, and they also serve our ER with physicians. That I'll be glad to help you look into it. Anything else? Well, I appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
So the hospital has the nursing home under their umbrella.
Yes, ma'am.
now. They did not take the assisted living.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. The assisted living is still privately run. But the hospital did come under our umbrella December the 23rd of 2014. So right before I came on board with the hospital, actually.
Well, and I'm thankful that Bleckley is under the umbrella because I would have hated to see it close.
Well, and it is a wonderful hospital. Something else I'll mention about Bleckley, and many people are unfamiliar with this, but Bleckley has a very active swing bed program. I don't know if you guys are familiar with swing beds and what they are, what they're for. But we utilize the swing beds at Bleckley quite often. It's a wonderful small hospital. It's very much almost like a family type organization. And so a swing bed is, it's basically a rehab bed. It's so that patients although they may not necessarily meet acute care status any longer, they're not needing daily nursing visits, but they still need some therapy and they're not quite ready to go home yet. We can keep them in that swing bed program for up to 21 days. They can have therapy come in and work with them every day, 2 or 3 times a day, and help them really get back into their normal state of living. Get them back on their feet. Get them back to where they can get themselves up, get showered, get dressed, feed themselves, so that they can get back to their normal routine. It's a great program. I would encourage any of you to inquire about it, go by, see how they work. I can tell you, and this is not HIPAA because it's my family. My grandfather was in swing bed at Bleckley 2 different times in the last couple of years, and they were absolutely wonderful with him. He was close to home because he lived in Cochran, and he was very well taken care of. My grandmother was able to go in and be with him anytime she wanted. When family went over to visit, we were able to go and use the activities room for family gatherings. It's really a wonderful program and a blessing to be able to have that type of rehabilitation close to home.
Ken Youngblood, he is a blessing.
He is wonderful. He does a very, very good job.
They all do, but he is exceptional.
Thank you. I will let him know that you said that. He does. We sing his praises quite often.
Listen.
Was there anything else? Well, I appreciate y'all giving me the time to come and talk to you, and please come see me. Like I said, my office is on the front hall. I'm right next door to the Pink Ladies gift shop. I'll be glad to talk with you anytime, and I hope that y'all all have a wonderful St. Patrick's Day and a good weekend. And I will turn it back over to Miss Lynn.
Thank you, Jenna. We appreciate it immensely. It's good to hear that the hospital is getting back on track again.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, people don't realize what a resource we have here. You go to many of these small communities and they don't have what we have. And just look at the cancer center. I mean, how many communities this size have a cancer center or the wellness center? I mean, so we are indeed fortunate, and we appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. I mean, you don't have anything to do.
No.
No, so. Okay, Larry. Larry, give you a little legislative update.
Well, I'm reluctant to come up and talk about what I've got to talk about after Jenna had such an uplifting presentation. It's good to hear the good news. It is election cycle, and sometimes you wonder how long it's going to continue and how long it goes on. Just a word of caution, be prepared for a long, hot summer. You all remember the title of the movie, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof? That's what politics is going to be all summer long.
It's already there.
Can it get any worse? Well, yes, it certainly can. And got a little quiz for you. Got some candy up here, and I'll pay you off in candy if you
That's
can
my
answer.
candy you paying them off with.
Can anybody tell me how many Republican candidates for president in 2016?
17.
15.
Any other guesses?
Too many.
Too many? Yeah. How about 22?
Good gracious.
22 announced candidates on the GOP side. How about on the Democratic side?
About 3.
5.
Any other guesses?
4.
How about 14?
Wow.
I'm glad they've all sort of faded out.
It's right here, folks. I didn't make it up. There's 22 and 14.
Thank goodness they're not all in it anymore.
I want to read some excerpts from op-ed that was in this morning's paper. It's by Thomas Sowell, who's a syndicated columnist. It goes like this. It says, "It is seldom that the fate of a nation can be traced to what happened on one particular day. But that may be what happened," he was talking about last Tuesday, or this Tuesday, the 15th. That's because the front runners in both political parties are not merely inadequate, but appalling. And the vote in this Tuesday's primaries may be the last chance for the voters to unite behind someone else. Now, how many of you have found yourself over the past few weeks saying, is there someone else that I would be willing to vote for? I think we've all probably experienced a little bit of that. It said the trend that brought us to this critical day go back for years. But whatever the paths that led to this crossroads, and that's the title of it, is Voting is at a Crossroad. It said whatever led us to this crossroads, we are in fact at a crossroads, and our future and our children's future depend on whether we can come up with some presidential candidate better than either Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. It says in other times and in other conditions, one bad president could not ruin a great nation. We survived Jimmy Carter, and we may survive Barack Obama, but there's no guarantee that we can survive an unlimited amount of reckless decisions in a dangerous world. And I think that's what we all have to really think about, is who is going to be the best individual sitting in the White House that can deal with the challenges and the dangers and the threats that we have out there in the world today. It says we be lucky to survive the damage that has been done already, and a third consecutive term of such policies that we've been experiencing can be suicidal. So we all, I think, know that there's got to be a change, but what is that change, and how are we going to survive the changes that we get? So much to think about in all the things that are going on out there, and I think this is a very good op-ed that Thomas Sorrell has put together. Talks about the only candidate who has a real chance to stop Donald Trump at the ballot box is Ted Cruz. But the Republican elite, who have never liked Cruz, may prefer to stop Trump with chicanery at the convention. We've all heard conversation lately about a brokered or contested convention, and that goes back quite a few years. If y'all, and I'm sure many of you here might remember 1968 in Chicago, when the Democrats had a brokered convention, which turned out to be more of a riot than anything else. And we've seen a bit of rioting or interruptions on both sides of the campaigns this year already, and we know that there's a number of groups, organizations, who are mounting a drive right now to protest both parties from now to the November election. And that's going to bring that long, hot summer that I mentioned, and many of the candidates and anybody involved in the campaigns are going to feel like they're on a hot tin roof every time they turn around being protested. How many of you, as you were growing up and getting into your careers and all, ever thought we would see a socialist running for president of the United States of America? I'm telling you folks, it's a dangerous world out there just from philosophies. So we've got to really be engaged. And how do you be engaged? Is to stay aware of what's going on, see what trends are occurring out there and where things are going. If we have more likely we're going to have a brokered convention on the GOP side. And what that means is that when they have the first round of voting in the convention, everybody has to vote what the primary came out, the votes and the candidates or the representatives that they have there. Got to stick to that first round. But after that, it's game on. They can break down the ballots or the delegates and use them any way they want to. Right now, there's a big drive to try to get the number of delegates that Marco Rubio has, because he's got about 160 something delegates across the board, but some of those are dedicated. They have to be voting for the candidate, but after that first round, they can go any way. So it can be a real Donnybrook there. It says, this article says that Trump has 673 delegates and he needs 564 more to be nominated. So he's not a shoo-in yet. There's other primaries that he may pick up a few more delegates, but I'm sure that when it's all said and done, there'll be a brokered convention for the GOP side. Now, Trump is, he's going like gangbusters now, and all of a sudden the establishment, the GOP leadership says, we got to stop him. So now, it's going to be a division within the GOP electorate there that they want to stop Trump there, and they're trying to find out somebody that they can put up against Trump to take him out. I don't know if anybody gets Larry Sabato's crystal ball, which he sends out about at least once a week. Larry is a professor of political science at the University of Virginia, and he's most recent one that I received says that they asked the question, are the Republicans going to the way of the Whigs? And the Whigs, if you all recall your history, they split the whole party up and created a lot of confusion there. It's kind of like my daddy used to say, everything has a 20-year cycle. And if you think back over the last 20 years and what was before that, you see a lot of things that we were experiencing then is being repeated. And of course, we've heard a lot about Trump being the outsider, but there's also other outsiders there. But this is nothing new. It says the last time an outsider like Trump crashed the GOP was in 1940. So there's a thing there that compared Wilkie and Eisenhower when Eisenhower was the outsider, and that was in 1952. And it's kind of, if you read this article, and anyone can take a look at it, it's kind of like Wilkie was the rich man in that process. He was a president of Commonwealth and Southern, one of the largest electrical energy producers in the nation at that time. So he had the money that he could finance his own campaign, and he did pretty much what he wanted to do in his campaign. I'm not making any judgment. That's for you all to make your own judgment. But it's kind of frightening if you stop and think about it. When someone such as Trump or anyone that has the ego that Trump has is up there and just saying anything and everything he wants to say, and you wonder, okay, how would he deal with Russia? How would he deal with Iran? And things like that. But on the other side, too, there's some radical thoughts and conversation on the other party. So before, if you haven't already cast your vote, think about what's out there, what you want this nation to look like after November of 2016. Because it's going to set the course for the future for many, many years. It can be devastating. In Georgia, I think that there's one thing that in the General Assembly that many of you are probably concerned with, and that's the law that allows carry on college campuses. And that hasn't been enacted yet. But if you've got concerns about it, get in touch with your regional or your district representatives, the senators, and tell them what you think about that. And I think that for too long, we've been complacent in just saying, well, my voice won't make any difference. But as long as you, and I'm not pointing this at anybody in this room, but as long as people say my voice doesn't make any difference, they're exactly right. It doesn't make any difference. So I urge you to become very engaged and tell these elected officials, hey, we put you in office, we want you to represent us. That's it.
Doom and gloom. Which way do we go? Okay, last month,
Dominican Republic.
when Donovan was here, he talked about possibly having Congressman Scott come and visit our chapter and speak, or have us host an event for the community. It looks like it's going to be in August. We've been in contact with the Congressman's office. He is already booked for something in September, but we're working on August, so as it gets closer and we get a definite date, then I will relay that. But we would invite the whole community, but we would serve as the host for this. Membership incentives, you still got a couple till the 31st of March to reap some of the benefits on the Federation and the chapter incentives on that. We picked up, Nancy recruited another person since the last meeting, and Hope's working on a couple right now. So
I'm working on
you
some
still
too.
have to the end of this month to take advantage. Of course, the recruiting's year round. It doesn't stop on March the 31st, but the initial incentives stop then. So I encourage you to do so. N.A.R.F.E National Convention still going to be in Reno. I think it's really going to be an interesting. The National Executive Board is meeting next week, so there's no telling what's going to come out of it in regard to their resolutions. On the convention website, there's already 3 resolutions been submitted, and they all have to do with the number of regional vice presidents. One resolution wants it reduced to 5, another one to 8, I believe, and the other one wants it to keep where they are now. But so far, those are the only resolutions that have been submitted. Remember the booster list we talked about for the convention at the last meeting. If you contribute $1, it'll be in the Federation's page list of boosters as contributing to the convention. So if you're interested, give me the $1. I have to send one check with everybody's names on them and the contributions. So just let me know. Evelyn, do you have an update on the raffles? If you guys hadn't had a chance to meet on anything?
We haven't met.
Okay, so just maybe next month. Last, as you know, Leo passed away, and she was our chapter chaplain. And so we need to appoint another chaplain. Is anybody interested in assuming that responsibility? Well, you would be responsible for just a real short devotional at each meeting?
I'll do it.
Okay. Pat, thanks. Appreciate that. That was easy. Thank you. And good news, our Federation president, Clarence Robinson, we've been begging and pleading him to do this, has thrown his hat in the ring for Region 3 Vice President. Our current Region Vice President hasn't been real responsive to any of the federations in the region. Don Stewart, our previous one, spoiled us all. And everybody had been after Clarence to throw his hat in the ring. So he has thrown his hat in the ring. His candidate statement will be in the May edition of N.A.R.F.E magazine. That's when all of theirs will be in there. He will have something soon on the Federation website. We're working on a thing for him to present at the Region 3 training conference. So we need to do what we can to support our Federation president as Region 3 Vice President. Georgia hasn't had a Region 3 Vice President since really Ken Martin. Ken was the last one that was in Georgia during this whole time. Bob Harrell, when he was elected, was a member of the Georgia Federation, but then he moved over to the Alabama Federation. So we sure would like to see somebody that thinks outside the box and listens to people and is willing to take a stand, because N.A.R.F.E faces some real difficult situations. And N.A.R.F.E driver safety training. You know, if you get a certificate for having completed this training, you get a discount on your insurance. And if your insurance is like most of ours, you need any discount you can get. As we get older, it seems that insurance wants to go up. The good thing is they offer the training in various places, Warner Robins and so forth. But you can also take it online. The last couple of times I've done it online. You don't have to do it all at one time. You can do it one day and then go pick up where you left off another day, and then you get a certificate, and they actually send a certificate to your insurance carrier. So I encourage you, if you have not taken that training in order to get the discount, to do so. And if you need some information on that, I can probably provide it to you. Hope, don't let me forget, as part of the membership thing, you get a free lunch from me from that. So today your lunch is on me. Does anybody else have any other business? Next month, our meeting will be on the 21st, and I hope to have the Heart of Georgia Hospice representative. They have both just a regular hospice and provide services, and they also have the inpatient hospice at Perry Hospital. So I'm going to try to get her to come down to that. May the 19th will be our meeting. Don't have a speaker yet, but I was telling Pat and Ann, I was at Chapter 1020's meeting last week, and they had a nurse, she was a nurse educator from Houston Healthcare, that talked about diabetes. That's her specialty, and she was excellent. Would you guys be interested in something like that? Because I know diabetes impacts a lot of people, and it was an excellent presentation. And I mean, that's what she does, is talk about diabetes all the time. So I will see. Her name is Bonnie Henderson. I'll see if I can get her. And then I was thinking about in June, since the state legislature will be over. In fact, it may end tomorrow unless they have a couple things, but it'll definitely be over next week. Is getting our new senator, Larry Harper III, to come speak. I think Larry would be excited to come speak. I don't know if you read about, he told about his hazing incident, or his initiation into the Senate, how they did when they introduced his first bill. I think you guys would get a chuckle out of that, and he's a really entertaining speaker. I don't think he's quite as entertaining as his daddy that writes the articles in the Sunday paper, but he's pretty entertaining. Our Representative Buddy Harden is always willing to come, but so that we can actually hear what went on in the state legislature
Do you have a
this year.
phone number for Buddy?
Not off the top of my head, but I have one for him. So, but that's what's scheduled to come up.